Hi, how you going?
I'm so excited to be here. I'm still on cloud nine from last night. It has seriously been unreal.
What is that like though? Like, obviously, newer version of Survivor, you find out on the island months ago that you're the winner of Survivor 49. How does that how does that how do you process that? How do you feel when you're watching the show and you're getting to, I guess, see your edit through the lens that we're all seeing it? But how do you process that experience?
Oh my gosh, it's the strangest feeling because even though all of this happened months and months ago, as the episodes air, for me at least, it feels like you're reliving that experience. And so the same emotions I felt on the island when I won, for example, I felt them the same way last night. And, I broke down, burst out in tears, and it was honestly even better because I was with my whole family and they're all crying too. And it's an incredible experience. And how do you process? Honestly, like I feel like I'm still figuring it out. It's truly a crazy experience.
Yeah, there's so many questions I need to ask you about that time period. I'll get to those towards the end, but I will just put it on the record to state I'm a huge fan of you personally. I love one, I love your casting type, and I know people have been talking about that a little bit online. I love that you have gone out there, dominated this game, four-time immunity challenge winner. Can we count the fire as well? I feel like that's five. I feel like
I
that
want
counts as a
to, I
fifth.
want to, but I don't know if that's cheating.
No, I don't think so. I feel like we should count that as well. So, firstly, just congratulations on winning Survivor. It is a huge accomplishment to go out there and actually and win the game. Let me take you to Final Four then, because that seemed to be a really interesting moment for you, especially on the beach. It seemed that Soph pretty obviously was going to put you through to fire. Is that the vibe you felt in that moment?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like the fact that she wasn't really willing to have a conversation with me was a big indicator that, okay, there's something wrong. And I think I was so hurt in that moment because I genuinely wanted to go to the end with her and Rizzo. I didn't think it was necessarily the easiest way forward, but it's what I really wanted to do, go to the end with my two closest allies. And so when I was not able to talk to Soph and not able to have that conversation, I was feeling so rejected and I was feeling so almost like let down in that moment. I've kind of compared it to like a breakup, for example. Your boyfriend breaks up with you and you're like, no, like I want to be with you. Like take me with you. You know what I mean? And I was so hurt, but at the same time, I totally get why she did what she did. And I don't blame her at all. I think Soph is an amazing player, one of the many, many reasons why I love her. And I just, I can't be mad about it.
I 100% agree. Sophie is a great player. Rizzo is a great player. You're an excellent player. It's why I think this is my favorite of the new era Survivor seasons. I don't know if that's a hot take, but I just have loved this season throughout. And I think it's because of your core three. Coming into the merge, obviously you're in a minority. And I think you put it well, and I think people recognized it at Final Tribal, which I was really pleased to see. You coming from a position where you're targeted every single vote. Can you talk a little bit about like how you navigate that outside just obviously winning immunity? Like it's also the other elements as well. Can you talk a little bit about where you felt maybe you might have been stuck and maybe you might have been taken out?
Dude, honestly, that was the craziest thing because we got to merge and I didn't realize that I was looked at as someone who was so scary and such a big threat. And so on one hand, like I'm not gonna lie, like I'm a little flattered by that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I'm feeling so frustrated because I wanted to try to make bonds with some of these people, but I felt like there was a wall that was being put up because people did think I was this scary player. So I'll say, I mean, like for my first two immunity wins, like those were so crucial to my game because it gave me the freedom to focus less on strategy and, being conniving and deceiving, but instead creating real, authentic relationships. I had bonds with Sophie S. I had bonds with Steven. Those both served me well further in the game. And then also, I was able to repair some relationships with Sage and Jawan. Those also served me later in the game. I mean, you see, for example, for the Sophie S vote, Sage doesn't write my name down. She goes for
Yeah.
Sophie S. And I think that if I hadn't have bridged that gap, while I had that safety, I don't know if that would have been the case.
The Sage relationship in itself is so fascinating in terms of, I guess, your game in a way, because I think it represents how you can be on opposing sides to people through the game, yet ultimately come together and have these positive relationships with people in the end, which I did love. I do want to get you to talk a little bit about the relationship with Rizzo and Soph specifically. Obviously, that's such a long and important part of your game. Can you talk about both of them independently and then that connection you had with them?
Absolutely. I mean, they're both amazing. I'll start with Rizzo since we started on Uli together. But,
Yeah,
when I first met Rizzo, young, vivacious man, I have a little brother, same exact age as Rizzo. They both have the same energy. They both have the same enthusiasm for life. They're both very goofy and just fun to be around. And before I came into the game, I knew that I wanted to work with someone in particular who would make me laugh.
yeah,
Survivor is such a intense game. It can be so hard. And I knew if I found an ally who could genuinely help me have a good time, my experience would be a lot better no matter how things ended up, right? And
yeah,
so that's what initially drew me to Rizzo. I mean, you hear me talk about how Soph is like or like a friend, but for me, Rizzo was like family, if that makes sense. And then with Soph, I mean, we just had that instant connection. We're around the same age. We're both in similar stages of life when it comes to our boyfriends and everything, her now fiance. And it was honestly just as simple as like we're just hanging out in the hammocks. We're talking about the Real Housewives. We're talking about how we need to go to get a massage at a nice like place. It was just these relationships that truly felt like they were beyond the game. And even as everything had wrapped up filming, months ago, we literally text every single day. These are my people, like for life. They are incredible people, characteristics, but also at the game. And I feel so privileged to say I was part of an alliance with both of them because they are just so amazing.
yeah. I 100%, and it's such a cool alliance. And I think it was placed really well by Soph in the episode, talking about the different characteristics that you all brought to the beast that is your alliance that dominated through. I'm gonna go script a little bit. I One of the things I really loved about you was your authenticity in the show from my perspective, and I loved when you talked about your previous role as a journalist and talked about how you felt. You were, I guess, bullied. I don't know what to speak for you, but harassed and placed in a position where you weren't respected in a way in your previous job. How much did that experience impact you on Survivor? And I guess what lessons did you take away from that horrible experience when you then play and thrust to a game where there are people who aren't always going to be on your side and there are going to be people who are going to be talking behind your back? Like, how much did that link into this experience for you?
Absolutely. I mean, I think when I started the game, I actually went in with a mindset. I really want to separate like all of my emotions from decisions. And so I really tried throughout the entire first part of the game to kind of have a wall up and keep my emotions suppressed across the board. And then it got to a point with the Nate Blindside where I was just feeling so on the bottom and left out and unwanted, it reminded me so much of what I had experienced at that news station previously, that that wall was just shattered, it was broken, and that flood of emotions just came pouring out. And I couldn't hide those emotions anymore. I had to address them, and I really started playing with my heart then. I will say, I mean, tough situations like that,
Yeah.
they're always going to make you or break you. I look at what I went through a few years ago, and the 2 years that I was stuck in that environment, it was really hard. But I learned a lot about myself during that time. I feel like I earned a mental toughness during that time. And you see that coming into play, not only in the game, but in my real life every day, It's like if I ever face anything where I feel, I don't know, maybe weaker or not big enough or something like that, I know in my heart like I can take it on because I've done hard things before. So
Yeah.
all of the difficulties I've faced in my life have ultimately prepared me, like not just for Survivor, but whatever comes after Survivor too.
You're a journalist, so you'll see the link that I am drawing here. One of the things I really did not like about the final tribal council was Christina's question to you. I've seen the opposite online. People are like, "Oh, what a great question." I hated the question, to be really honest. I thought it was really disrespectful to you as a player. I thought you handled it with grace, and I thought you did really well with that question because it's really a gotcha question for someone who's definitely not going to vote for you regardless. And I hate those. Can you talk a little bit about that question specifically, handling it the way you did, and I guess like the relationship with Christina, because it felt as if you guys were just never going to be on the same page.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I really do think it was this personality clash out there. The way we even communicate, for example, you see that on the show, it's just so different and it just does not mesh very well sometimes, especially when you're in an environment where there's so much stress, you're not eating, you're not sleeping, it it gets a little crazy. That said, like I have so much respect for the jury in whatever questions they want to ask or whatever basis they want to base their votes on. If Christina wanted to vote for someone to win the $1 million based off of, how much she liked their hair, for example. She's so well within her right to do that. And at the time, don't get me wrong, I was not loving that question. I wanted to melt into the floor. I'm like, I can't answer this. And I feel so on the spot. But at the same time, you've seen my gameplay. I'm a bold player. I like to make other people sweat. And Christina was doing the same thing with me then. And I have no choice but to respect it. I love a woman who can, take me head on and make me work for that $1 million. So my relationship with Christina during the game, it was a little rough, but I've gotten to know her outside of the game, and she is an incredible woman. She's a wonderful mother. She's just such a strong individual in so many different ways, and it's just one of a couple of different relationships that I've been able to really craft and cultivate outside of the show, and she's an amazing person.
Yeah, I love that. Well responded to. I love that you get to go again, and it's such a rare thing for people in Survivor. It has happened historically through US and international survivors where we've had people go back. Super rare that a winner will go back to back. And that's there was a belief, Russell had a belief that he had won Samoa and was going back to back. But you know that you have won and then are going back to back. There's two questions. One, how soon after did you find out that you're going to be playing again? Because they're filmed somewhat concurrently. And two, what lessons did you actually take from this experience into that second game?
Yeah, so we found out we were invited back for 50, less than 24 hours after that final
Crazy,
tribal council.
crazy,
It was a
crazy.
couple hours before we left to go back to the US, and it's just this shock and this excitement. Like, how could anyone ever say no to that opportunity? That's like any Survivor player, any Survivor
Yeah.
fan's dream to be playing with some of these legends who I grew up watching and cheering for. Like, it is the coolest thing. And as far as lessons go, I mean, we just talked about the Christina question. My social game was a hot topic, I think, for some of the people on the jury. And I knew that going into 50, I really wanted to make an effort to remember people's
Yeah.
families' names. I'm not even kidding. Like, so I would try so hard to, on the first, at the very beginning of the game, to just in every conversation take an interest and really focus on those little details just in case, I made it to day 26 and someone throws that same question at me because you never know. I knew I was going to be prepared for that.
Yeah, I love that. And congratulations on getting to play again. It's huge. And I'm sure your brain is so Survivor filled right now with multiple things. So congrats on getting to play a second time. And I think rightfully selected to go play amongst these all stars to represent 50 years, 50 seasons of Survivor. I always love to end these chats just by talking about that concept of gratitude. Gratitude's such a big thing for me as a human. What are you grateful for, I guess, for this whole Survivor experience you've just been in within the last year?
Oh my gosh, I feel like I could talk about this for like another 15 minutes. Honestly, like, dude, this has been a dream of mine since I was a little girl. And I feel like, as we get older, like sometimes our dreams that we have as kids, they fizzle out, they
Yeah.
die. And I'm so grateful for my family and my friends and my partner who have believed in me as I was going through the application process, even though I have applied multiple times and I hadn't gotten it, who knew I could do it and who encouraged me and who took care of things at home so I could go live out this adventure. Like, obviously on the show you see all of these amazing players, but what you don't see is oftentimes the community that's behind them, supporting them and making it possible for them to live their dream. And I mean also like I mean CBS, like the production, the editors, like I'm so grateful for them for not only letting me go out there and play, but also for portraying me as a person who is not perfect, who has strengths on one hand, but also who is flawed on another. I think it's such a beautiful thing to be able to show a winner who is not perfect, who did not necessarily play the prettiest game. And I'm hoping that it's inspiring other people to go out and play hard and do some crazy stuff out there. Because, when I'm not a player of the show, I'm a fan of the show, and I hope to see more of that gameplay.
Yeah, amazing. And we all do. And you talk about dreams. Like for me, one of my dreams watching this as a 10-year-old was to chat to, the winner of Survivor. And that was Richard Hatch, all the way, which I have done all the way through to you. So thanks so much for letting me live that dream and experience that as well. Congrats and best of luck for next season. I am one of your number one fans, so I'll be out there rooting for you to hopefully go back to back.
Gosh, Ryan, thank you so much. That's really sweet. Thank you. Seriously.
No, all good. Genuinely, thank you for such a great season. I loved your gameplay.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Seriously. It was so much fun. I'm glad I could do it.
See you, Savannah.
All right.
Bye.
We'll see ya.